Hi everyone. Got my amateur gunsmithing, gun cleaning, and maintenance set up back in the back corner of my barn here, and thought I'd do a little walkthrough since this is probably the cleanest and most organized it'll ever be. So I'll go ahead and document that. I'll start on the door here. I got all my sandpapers. They go from probably 60 grit up to about 3,000. Good for everything from taking off rust to fine polishing. Then we got the TV, which is not really a TV. It doesn't have a tuner. It's a pretty nice commercial display I got at a Hamfest. And of course, YouTube is kind of the lifeblood of maintaining and researching guns and gun stuff. My Harbor Freight little rolling tool cabinet here that I keep just mostly second tier things in. I got everything from C-clips to extra springs and brass punches down to more esoteric things I don't use all the time. The bore sighter and tap and die set. Just some various tools. Scope leveler, trigger gauge, that kind of thing. Things I don't use every day, except for my big drawer full of swabs here. Those come in pretty handy. And magnet trays. I highly recommend magnet trays anytime you take a gun apart. Sometimes I'll leave them half apart and just leave all the parts in there and put it away for a while and maybe move on to something else, and all of my metal parts will be right there with it. And I got my MTM maintenance center here, so I can throw that up on the bench and work on rifles. That's pretty handy. And then my Harbor Freight metal workbench with light, which for $80 is pretty nice. I'm really pleased with that. I made a couple of modifications to it. I put a hardwood top on it. Just went to Home Depot and got a 24 by 48 piece of hardwood. Had to notch it out in the corners a little bit, and it hangs over just a little bit, but that's all I did to it. I put a linseed oil finish on it with some paste wax, so that makes a pretty nice work surface. Now this workbench is surprisingly sturdy. I'm pretty happy with it. It's I wouldn't want to use it for a mechanic's workbench. I wouldn't want to throw a transmission or something on it. And that's even the worktop was surprisingly stout, but it was black. And so I covered it up because, almost all the little pieces and parts you take off a gun are black. So this kind of works out. That's a nice little worktop. And the other change I made was I put in a LED light, a 36 LED light in favor of the fluorescent that came with it. And it's got 2 levels of light and 3 light colors, so you can look at things in a variety of light if you're trying to get a scratch out or get something polished or something like that. And then just basic tools up here. And I keep a lot of my bits, my primary bits, just right here on the work surface on these little magnets, and they are labeled as to what they are, and that keeps me from having to dig in and get into my organized bit sets. And that, as you saw on the screen, is Excel accelerator. I brought that in because it's nasty. It's time to take that apart and get it cleaned up good and see how it runs after that. It's a pretty nice little pistol. All my basic first tier cleaning type of things. Somebody will say, don't put WD-40 on your gun for lube. That's for cleaning and for rust removal. Really. And I don't use it as a gun lube. My Dremel bits, batteries for optics and bore sighters, that kind of thing. I put in an air reel just overhead for my mostly a blowgun. 99% of what I'm going to use here is a blowgun. I do have a rotary grinder that's kind of like a Dremel on steroids, so that's but it's nice to have it right there at my fingertips, because usually the first step is blowing everything out. I got my T-handled Allen wrenches. This isn't marked, but it's just it's little miscellaneous parts, things that I've bagged up and labeled. Let's see, that one's PLR original screws. I upgraded all the screws in my PLR, which was kind of my last project. Thread locker and various types of super glue. Steel wool, scrubbing pads, and of course various tools. I love this little office organizer here. It's got everything from razor blades, tweezers, punches, long punches. These are really handy. These skewers for cleaning out little crevices with dust and whatnot in them. I've got my little electric screwdriver or battery screwdriver here that's good for completely disassembling something quick. And then that's my primary driver, which I found in a van that I bought like 30 years ago, and for some reason just always been my favorite driver. And the other thing about this workbench is the drawers are not stellar. Again, if I were doing something like mechanical work and wanting to put a bunch of wrenches in there, I would put stronger wood in the bottom. They roll out okay, but you really have to kind of click them in at the end here. And then my all of my good bits when I need something more esoteric, and torque wrench, more hex keys, calipers, jeweler's screwdrivers, that kind of thing. This brown box down here is all of my AR specific tools, blocks and punches and things like that, pretty specific to the AR, with a bunch of spare parts and oops kits and that kind of thing. So I pull that out whenever I'm working on an AR. My lead sled. I got a clean rag bucket and a dirty rag bucket. And then back in the back is where I keep my lint-free lags for polishing and whatnot. My ultrasonic cleaners. Boy, these are just about the best thing in the world for cleaning up guns. I got two of them. This one is a little medical grade. They might use that at a doctor's office or a dentist office for cleaning tools and whatnot, and it's actually the better one. But it doesn't fit everything, so I got the larger Harbor Freight one, which is incidentally the same as the Lyman. Those are the same ultrasonic cleaners, just with a different washer. And I got some really nice rods I got when Gander Mountain was going out of business. These are carbon fiber cleaning rods I got in two sizes. But then here on the end of the workbench, I keep my 4 most used bore snakes: 22, 30 cal, 9, and 40. I keep a little bucket here for ongoing projects. I'm working on a Browning rifle right now. I got some stuff in there. A scope I'm putting on a Remington. This is neat. I didn't know they had these until recently. I guess technology passed me by. That's a Brother labeler that works off the phone. You got a little app and you just make up your labels on the phone and it prints them right out. And that comes in handy for, of course, marking stuff, and like I showed before, bagging up little parts. My Ryobi rotary tool, fake Dremel there. That's 18 volt. I like that. I just can detach it, and if I want to go polish on something for an hour, I can go get in my comfy chair and work on that. And just take that right off. I keep some various ammo here, because if I'm doing function checks or whatnot, I can just step right outside the barn and shoot. So I try to keep a little of everything I expect I'm going to shoot. My field cleaning kit, which is also my kind of mostly my indoor cleaning kit too, aside from the other bore snakes and rods and whatnot here. All my old people will remember modular storage cubes from the 60s and 70s. My dad made those, and I don't have any real specific memory of it. I would have been very young. And it lets me keep a few books up there, which I've got a ton of, so I've got to sort them out and decide what I'm going to keep down here. Probably mostly reference type manuals, cartridge manuals and disassembly manuals, that kind of thing. And then this big, huge, nice power strip I got out of a server cabinet. I bought some server cabinets to put my solar batteries in. And then the stock pot up here, that is mostly for milsurp rifles that come just caked in cosmoline. Just take them apart and throw everything in there. I got my little parts bucket, I guess you'd call it a steamer, and get all my parts good and clean enough to where I'm not wasting my ultrasonic liquids. And then another nice thing about using the stock pot, you throw this on a camp stove or something, you lay the stock across it and it steams out the cosmoline. So that's how I get rid of cosmoline. I don't really store guns down here, but I do have a small safe, 5-gun safe, just so I can keep projects going down here without having to take them with me all the time. Give me a little security there. And then under it I have the air compressor. It was a little air compressor I already had. It was easier than running air all the way across the shop, which all of my heavy stuff, the vices and grinders and things, are across the shop there. I didn't really want to have the room to, or the need to replicate it over here when it's just a few steps away. And then just general storage, cleaners, and got a little tub dedicated to wood products, and I got rust removal, extra lubricants, cotton balls, wire ties, cleaners, wire products. That's my field box I take out with me. I load it up whenever I go out somewhere. All my simple green and distilled water for my ultrasonics. A lot of wood finish products down here. Oh, and then down here is targets and a couple of nifty little tools I break out every once in a while. A Dremel drill press and my little belt sander for, if you say take off a sight lug or something, that helps you sand it out smooth to the barrel. And then my repository for fired brass. This is the land of the misfit optics here, I guess. Just wind up with kind of a collection of them. And then lastly is my digital curing cabinet, aka an old electric smoker, and it works perfectly. And took the racks out, except for the top one here, and I just bend little wire forms to hold up what I'm doing, and you set the temperature and you set the time and come back and it's done. So that does a pretty nice job. And then I got it attached to this rolling cabinet so I can roll it around in the shop, and then I keep my coatings and such in there, and little various pieces of wire hangers and mixers and HVLP gun. And so that's pretty much it. That's my little gun maintenance area, and my featuring the Harbor Freight tool chest there, and the Harbor Freight workbench. So just thought I'd share, and thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.